What's up, everybody? Transfer market still coming at you thick and fast. This is something that does not stop until the window slams shut. Thanks, Sky Sports. Thanks, Jim White. James, let's start.
Don't talk sport now. Just let me know.
Talk sport now. Great. Even better, guys. Please don't listen to Talk Sport. Subscribe to Box Football. Don't listen to Talk Sport.
Just do that. Just subscribe to Box Football. How about that?
James, I want to start with a bit of a controversial, at least on social media, it seems to be kind of a controversial signing. Lautaro Martinez. There's a nice slip of the tongue. That's going to happen a few times. Lisandro Martinez, his Argentinian teammate, centre-back, 5'9", 175 centimetres tall, from Ajax to Manchester United. I just want to get your kind of initial take. I have a few things that I want to say on this deal, but what's your initial take on the deal, the value, and then obviously the height thing?
The first thing that popped into my head, Jack, is that since when has the Premier League turned into the NBA? That we're now bothered about how tall a player is, or
gotta be Yao Ming,
or like for instance his weight and things like that. Well, he's 200. I'm like, who cares about that? Really? The question is, can you defend? Can you play at the highest level? People, I've been seeing the thing looking at, he's now the smallest centre back in the Premier League, and then they were comparing him to Newcastle's Dan Burn. I'm like, because he's taller, does that mean he's a better defender? Listen, Virgil van Dijk is great, not just because of the way he's built. There are plenty of defenders who are built like Virgil van Dijk, Jack. Plenty of them about the place. But there's not many of them who can defend like Virgil van Dijk, who can read the game at the highest level. That's the biggest part of football, being able to read the game. So we look at somebody like Cannavaro, Carlos Puyol, Fabio Baresi, all these top tier centre backs.
Mascherano, I know it's a little lesser, but Javier Mascherano was great,
At centre back. Again, I'm not asking him. I doubt he's going to be going against Peter Crouch every single week. And the first thing that people are going to look at is, once I kick the ball up. Jack, listen, you putting the ball in the air, that's only half the game. There's plenty of parts of of the game that's played. And then I want to ask you guys, go take a look at his performances against Erling Haller, and just go see how well he was able to handle himself against the brute force of Erling Haller. This guy is a phenomenal technician. He can play in multiple positions. The price, don't get it twisted, the price is a little bit crazy. To me, that's the only thing that kind of gets me. If this, I say, was the 25-30 million, I'm looking at, wow, great deal for Manchester.
My biggest issue though, James, it's not the height and it's not the fee. They went for Jurrien Timber first. That's a red flag for me. I like Lisandro Martinez. I think he's a great passer of the football. I think he reads the game fantastically well. Look at the statistical categories. Even for a dominant team like Ajax, he's still beaten the rest of those Manchester United defenders in tackles, interceptions, even I think some aerial duels he does very well because he puts off his opponent. He's smart, uses his body well, he reads the game well. All these things that, especially with an Erik ten Hag style of football, of course you don't want to be winning aerial duels. You want to be able to play out the back. You want to be able to carry. You want to be able to do this, do that, cover well, have speed. One thing Manchester United is seriously lacking in that central defence position. But James, the biggest red flag for me, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, they went for Jurrien Timber first, right? They went to Ajax and said, we want Jurrien Timber. And then supposedly the story goes that Louis van Gaal said, you need to be playing. And if you want to be in this World Cup, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how much to believe, read into that. But to then go for the second choice guy on a team, not the second choice guy on your list of guys who you want, but on a team, I don't know. That's a little bit weird for me. I think we've seen these South American defenders. They're a little bit hit and miss sometimes. We've had the likes of Otamendi come and do okay. Marcus Rojo is another one that comes to mind. Then you've got likes of Mascherano and stuff names like this. Colaccini, I believe, was Argentinian. So I don't know how consistent guys from that region are. I do think, though, that this guy's a different gravy. And the height thing, guys, forget about it. This is like the ideal kind of profile of player that Manchester United need in that central defence position.
And I think the biggest thing for me is that now he comes in, watch Manchester United play a few yards now forward. Instead of them being frightened from the point of view of, we're scared to get Harry Maguire turning. around now. You know, we now have Martinez in there, and to be honest, if you want to get in a foot race with Martinez or Varane, if you're an attacking player, let's do it. And to me, I think it's interesting how Manchester United can use him and they may use him in a sort of daily blend mode where he can sometimes play as a centre back, sometimes play as a full back, and then if he wants to get a little bit more technical, he might drop into the central
midfield. But James, also this athletically, this is a completely different profile to Daley Blind. You know, Daley Blind was playing like he was 38 when he was 24, right? Lisandro Martinez is a physically gifted guy. This guy is quick, you know, nimble, fast, you know, short area quickness, has all those kind of assets to his game, which Daley Blind does not have. So I think I get the comparison positionally, but I think in terms of the player you're getting a completely different guy. James, I've realised as well, this is going to be quite a defensive-heavy transfer roundup that we got going on here. Matthijs de Ligt to Bayern Munich. You and I have been on this from the get-go. I seem to remember videos from a few years ago when he was going to be leaving Ajax where we both just went, I know it's boring, but he should probably go to Bayern. And then he ended up going to Juve, right? It was a little bit of a shock, but I don't think you or I thought that he'd be there for his whole career. We thought that might be a stepping stone to Barcelona or to Real Madrid but you know, he's ended up at Bayern. It's a good chunk of change, 80 million euros. What kind of player Bayern Munich getting at this point? And also, just love to know your kind of recent opinions on Matthijs de Ligt, because I know at the time you and I were very high on him, me in particular. Has he lived up to that for you, and is he worth this kind of money?
I wasn't as high on him the way Jack was. I was more high on a Frankie de Jong, if I'm being honest there. But I mean, like, when he first joined Juventus, I was like, how does that make sense? But at the time, it was like, you're going to Italian champions, you're going to learn from Bonucci and Chiellini, getting to play with Cristiano Ronaldo, and it made sense there. But unfortunately, it didn't work out to that point. You've seen the guy to a certain point get exposed in, let's say, a lot of weird and awful areas, and you didn't see the development that you've seen in Ajax every single year, and you were questioning like, ooh, did we really jump the gun with this guy? Is it the Ajax system to a certain point? But Jack, I still believe the guy's very, very young. How old is he now? 23?
Yeah, maybe, 23, 24. Let me check that while you're talking.
He isn't like an old player, Jack. He's still learning. And I look at the team that he joins right now, I feel like this is probably the best system for
James, he's 22.
Jack, he's 22 years of age. Like, you talk about making a proper investment. Is 82 million euros is 80 million euros is a lot, but for a guy who is that much upside to him, I feel like this is a fantastic buy for Bayern Munich. I look at his style of play. I think de Ligt is always used to having to play higher up the field instead of the way Juve play, which is just kind of in our box. Can we actually defend our box? That's the first thing that's the first thing that they look at. While at Bayern now, it's a higher line. Yeah, he's great playing out from the back, and I feel like he likes being a leader. I feel like maybe having somebody next to him who is let's say, telling him where to go. He might not be used to that, because Jack, let's be truthfully honest, he grew up his whole career always being a leader. At the age of 19 years, Jack, he was leading this Ajax team. Right. So now he's going into a Bayern Munich team where he can take a bit of the step and lead from the front as a defender. I think this is a better move for him. I think the league suits his playing style a lot more better. So I think that overall, both teams win, and also the player.
James, I agree with you. How rare is that? A win-win-win type deal that we got going on here, and that I feel like is exactly what we have with Matthijs de Ligt to Bayern Munich. I think you make a really good point about the leadership thing. You know, the alpha male position in a position group, let's say, is reserved for one person. That is not shared. You can have leaders. There's different styles of leadership, and you can be respected in different ways. But that main alpha, that captain, that kind of role model. Now, again, he's going into a team that has Manuel Neuer in it, right? So I think, you know, if he's trying to win that fight in the dressing room, he might lose. But in terms of a defensive line, you're looking at the people who he's next to there. Obviously, you got Mazraoui there, who I think was a teammate or maybe he was in the academy for a little while when he was there. You've got Alphonso Davies in there as well. Sula's gone. I'm missing a name here. Dayot Upamecano. There you go. And I think out of the two guys, I would say that Ligt probably has those leadership qualities more so. I'd say just purely in terms of physical, you know, just raw talent and ability, Dayot Upamecano is probably that guy. But again, it's the consistency that's lacking. Whereas Ligt, you'd imagine, can be that consistent player. James, I feel bad for even talking about him like he was kind of washed. You know, he's 22, so I still have my hopes in terms of his potential ability, because, you know, nobody's that good, that young, plays with that level of composure, and doesn't just get better and better playing at Juventus, Bayern Munich. You know, maybe we see him in the Premier League at some point. Maybe we see him in Spain. You know, who knows? So James, I know we talked a little bit about Juve there, and you can see a big smile on my face, and I'll tell you why. Because La Joya is coming to the capital. I absolutely love it. I'm ecstatic. This is one of my favorite players to watch. Left-footed, magician, can do anything out of anywhere, creative. I'm buzzing for this. He is going to light up the Stadio Olimpico. Tammy Abraham, Pellegrini, by all signs, James, it looks like Nicola Zaniolo might be staying, although I'm not ruling him making a move to Juventus. That's been heavily linked as well. Under Jose Mourinho, for me, this on a free transfer, he's not asking for too much money. I think it's 6 million euros net per season, so that's like 2 million less than Pogba right now. I know he would provide me more value in this Roma team. I'm really happy about this. I think top four surely at this point has to be the minimum expectation. And James, with that man as your manager, right, I'm just saying a title push may not be the most outrageous thing. And if you look at the Milan squad, you look at the Inter squad, these are not knocking you down because of how fantastic they were, like Conte's Inter from before, or those Juve teams from the past decade. It's those spots are kind of up for grabs depending on the way they play. What do you make of this? Because obviously I can just gush about this.
So last time Roma won the league was 2001.
Yeah.
This might be one of the best chances you've ever had to win it.
Anyway.
You know? Wait, was it 7 or 2 or 2001?
Yeah, 2001.
Okay. But I feel like this might be one of your best chances to win it, Jack. I feel this is people don't understand, this is a huge queue for Roma. And now this also goes into this weird Italian bromance where they want to keep all their players in the same, like in the same area. Phenomenal for Roma, and I think you got to look towards the league next year. Top four is great, but Jack, you look at the Italian league right now, there isn't a standout. It's all, to me, the first thing first about being like consistent. Who in their wildest dreams seeing a team like AC Milan winning the league like that? No. And I look at this Roma team with a manager like Jose Mourinho. I've said it once, I said it again. When Jose gets it right, boy, oh boy, he gets it right, and he's hard to stop. Once he said, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that, he already mapped out what like the league's going to look like, like next season. And I look at where Roma's at right now. This is fantastic. But I got to look at this from the point of view of Paulo Dybala. It's a step backwards for him. And in him, just like Paul Pogba's let me know that football's kind of left him behind in certain types of ways, and he's becoming the forgotten man. Jack, could you imagine 4 years ago, Paulo Dybala and Paul Pogba were both on a free contract? How many teams would be going head over heels?
I know. What I'll
Barcelona,
say though,
Real Madrid.
What I'll say though, right? It never truly worked at Juve. It was always square peg, round hole type thing that was happening at Juve. That you always felt that way. The moment he signed, every time he plays, you were like, wow, look at what this kid's doing. But then fitting him in with the kind of pieces that Juve had over the years was always kind of tricky, and it was always trying to figure it out. This Roma team is not going to have any problem accommodating him. And that Milan team, you mentioned it, right? Theo Hernandez was amazing last year. You telling me Leandro Spinazzola can't come back and have that kind of an impact on this Roma team? Because I absolutely think he can. Right? You've got Giroud, Zlatan, these kinds of players. I think they just got Divock Origi, right? Tammy Abraham can't compete with those kinds of names, because I think he can. right? Lorenzo Pellegrini, better than any central midfielder, in my opinion, that Milan would have to offer. Throw any of them in there. Rafael Leao is a game changer out wide, but again, Nicola Zaniolo is up there too. So I'm not looking at any position across the field and feeling that Roma, with the current state of their squad, are totally outclassed. And James, the biggest thing for Roma, and we will move on here, guys, I promise, keeping people. Roger Ibanez, still there. Gianluca Mancini, still there, right? You know, signing Zeki Celik to just provide a little bit of pressure on somebody like Rick Karsdorp to make sure that he still develops as well. Rui Patricio is great. So again, I'm not going to say just yet, James, but I'm quietly confident going into this year, and you know, I'll feel a lot better about the team if they make at least top 4. James, sticking in Italy, because that seems to be where all the action is over the past couple of days or so. Kalidou Koulibaly from Napoli through to Chelsea. Now, this has obviously been kind of somewhat confirmed for a little while. My comments, certainly, I don't believe that Chelsea are getting a guy in their best years. We talked about this recently. I think you're getting a guy who, Chelsea's old kind of transfer policy was they don't really hand out these contracts to guys who are over the age of 30. And now in potentially a back 3 or a back 2, you've got a 37-year-old and a 31-year-old. I don't know what Chelsea are anymore in terms of their transfer strategy, but what are you making of this Koulibaly to Chelsea deal?
Maybe I'm still like in awe of the name, but
Right.
I still think it's a very good signing. You know, like we must look at the way footballers are built nowadays. Like footballers can go at the highest level at the age of 36, 37. You know, and I look at the way Chelsea are, and especially with the 3 at the back. They're not asking him to do a lot, Jack. He's not asked to play like as a 2 and go 1v1 all the time and you know, do all that sort of stuff there. A player like Thiago Silva was very comfortable playing at the at the 3 at the back system, because it kind of were able to hide all his deficiencies. And I do believe like playing as a 3 with Carlo Koulibaly in there, it will be able to hide his deficiencies too. Again, like athletically, I don't think he's changed that much. I don't think it's that much like he's had a massive drop off there. Everything to me that Chelsea have signed right here is going to be good for 3-4 years. Maybe after a while you will say, okay, listen, it's time to go. But for a good 3-4 years, I do believe that this is going to be a fantastic signing, short term.
Yeah, no, look, and I tend to agree with you. You know, I think that what this says in terms of, obviously you've lost Christensen, you've lost Antonio Rudiger, right? I don't know how much faith there is, generally speaking, in Trevor Chalobah. I don't think he's done anything wrong, but I also don't think he's done anything to separate himself as well. We've got to have this guy starting for us, right? So James, the other person that I want to talk about, especially with regards to Chelsea and defensively, because obviously they were interested in Ligt, and there seems to be a real push for central defensive signings here. Presnel Kimpembe from PSG to Chelsea as well. Supposedly those conversations have started up as well. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that, because they've got Thiago Silva there, they've got Kalidou Koulibaly. You know, is this going to be kind of the next piece, or what do you think?
I was thinking maybe Chelsea were going to look at Jules Koundé, but it seems like he's more of a Barcelona loaner signing at this moment in time. But I really have to ask myself with this Kimpembe thing is that I'm shocked that PSG are actually willing to let him go. We did a video saying that I feel like he should go for PSG, but I'm shocked that PSG are willing to take offers for him, because Jack, when you look at it, like they got Martinez there, that's great, but what are they gonna do with Ramos? Are you really gonna rely on Ramos to play a full season there, or like do they have something in store? Maybe they know something that I don't know, and like they clearly do. But him coming into Chelsea, I don't know about Kimpembe, Jack, because I see a lot of good there, but I see a lot of a defender who can self-destruct at any time. You know, I don't know what it's like with his temper at times when things ain't going his way, and that's the only thing that kind of questions me. I like Kimpembe, but I also see a lot of deficiencies in him that makes me feel like, is he really worth it overall? But a 26-year-old defender, you know, I think Chelsea were looking around 50 million euros. I don't think it's a bad deal for them. But personally, if I was Chelsea, I wouldn't look towards him. I would be looking towards other defenders, if I'm being honest.
I tend to agree with you. Pau Torres is still available. His release clause supposedly is still up, and that's a talented guy who's been scouted by many big teams. What I will say, James, I watched a Fabrizio Romano video yesterday talking about how Luis Campos, who's the new sporting director at PSG, is a big fan of Gonzalo Ignacio, who is, I believe, at Sporting Lisbon. Never seen him play in my life. Won't front. I won't pretend like I have. But 20 years old, supposedly incredibly talented central defender. So maybe that's kind of the idea there, because he wouldn't cost 50 million euros and the upside is potentially higher. I like Kimpembe. He just doesn't totally do it for me. Marquinhos is the real standout for me in that PSG centre-back partnership. And again, like you said, James, am I really going to trust Sergio Ramos to stay fit throughout the entire thing? Probably not, unfortunately. Knocking on wood for him, though, I wouldn't wish injury on anybody. James, to round off as well, we had my little moment in the sun with Paulo Dybala. I just want to hear your view on links with Zinchenko to Arsenal. What are your thoughts on here? Because I'll just quickly get mine out of the way here. I'll let you kind of finish up after. I don't rate Zinchenko. Zinchenko's the kind of player who, like, I always have this, usually I've had a couple of drinks, but I usually have this debate with friends where it's like, I think I could do what Zinchenko does for this Man City team. Like, I don't see anything that's special at all with what he can do. Now, for Ukraine, I've seen him in central midfield and I've gone, oh, okay, something about him here. But from the fullback position, I do really look at Zinchenko and think, like, what's so special about this guy? The drop-off after João Cancelo to Zinchenko, to me, is quite noticeable. So to me, especially the money that's being talked about for Zinchenko, I can't help but feel like it might be a little bit of a rip-off. That's just my take, but I'd love to hear what you think.
I like Zinchenko more than you do. I feel like what he's done for Manchester City, especially like their run to the Champions League final, Jack, two seasons ago, I felt like he was absolutely brilliant, and his ability to adapt in many positions for this Manchester City team is fantastic. But Arsenal are going to spend 35 million on, again, another versatile player. I'm looking for Arsenal to sign players who are position specialists. You know, Zinchenko coming in, where is he coming in to play? Midfielder, fullback? If he like if that's the case, you're not just signing an actual fullback. This is what I'm not understanding. I'm seeing too many like round hole and square pegs and all that sort of stuff there, where I want a player who's consistent in one position instead of going all around everywhere.
Is there a chance, mate, that you do like three centre-backs, Tierney plays that left centre-back role, and then Zinchenko plays left wing-back? Is there a chance of that at all?
I don't really see that, no.
Okay.
I'm not the biggest fan of three at the back, especially with this Arsenal team, and especially with the personnel that they've showed overall playing three at the back before. When they have played at times, it's looked very defensive. Now, Zinchenko isn't bad, but it comes off that Arsenal trying to do this whole Manchester City thing where they want all these Manchester City players, which I'm not really understanding. Yeah, I get it. Love Jesus, but does Zinchenko really swing the pendulum and make Arsenal contenders? That's, to me, the biggest thing for me.
This is the other conversation that I know you and I have had before. How much money are you willing to spend to go from a grade in one position to a higher grade in that position, right? You and I have talked about this before. If you have an A grade at left back, how much are you really willing to pay to get to an A+, right? And also, who are you bringing in to try and make that kind of change and make that difference? To me, I'm not trying to disrespect these two guys, because I know they have talent in their own right and they weren't maybe used the way they'd like to be as part of the team that they were in. But do Arsenal really want to be seen to be taking basically cast-offs and players that aren't really required or wanted from top teams? Now, this is the top of the top team. Man City, this is one of the best, if not the best club in the world at the moment in terms of their talent and their output and whatnot. But to me, I think if you're a team like Arsenal, surely you want to kind of walk your own path. You know what I mean? Don't just take the cast-offs from the better teams, because I think Arsenal are better than that. You know what I mean? If the idea is that you take Jesus and you take players like Zinchenko and you make top four and then you can build from there, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But I don't think a player like Gabriel Jesus is going to be the forward in a title-winning Arsenal team. I don't think Zinchenko is going to be the starting left-back in a title-winning Arsenal team. That's why, to me, especially the amount that's being rumoured to be spent on these guys, is not what I would do. Like, James, if I was Arsenal, go get Marc Cucurella. If you want a left back and Man City are interested in him, hey, just try and get Man City to pay over the odds for Cucurella. Then, you know, maybe you have a bit more money to play with. Anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
Jack, listen, I totally agree with you from the point of view of Zinchenko. I do feel it's a little bit different with Jesus. Jesus is a breakout star that I feel like if he played for any other team, like a Chelsea, for instance, he would be starting for Chelsea week in, in like week out. He does have that, to me, that star quality to him. But I look at Zinchenko and I like some of the parts he is, but when I'm not sure who you are, it's hard for me to just want to say, I'll just bring him in like that. Because I look at Arsenal right now, do we need another guy who can be versatile in the middle? We already have we already have El Nene in there. Do we need another one of them? Bellerin seems to see that he's going to be in the team next season. So I'm not sure where Zinchenko really fits in this small world. I want Arsenal to say, okay, we're going to sign another right back in, and like we're going to get rid of Bellerin, or like we're going to sign another midfielder in that's going to be a starter. That's what I'm looking for, not a guy who's going to be versatile in many positions. No, I want a specialist first.
Well, like you and I have talked about as well, and I think this is something we can totally agree on. Take that 30 million that you might be spending on Alexander Zinchenko, put that towards signing Milinkovic-Savic, put that towards signing Tielemans, right? Get a good value deal for them with a year left on their contract. That, to me, would make the world of sense.
Jack, you're a smart guy.
Guys, transfer news is coming thick and fast always. James and I, we try not to do this every day, because then you get bogged down into these stories that aren't really even stories. We try and get the ones with a bit of weight to them that seem like there's actually some, there's actually some substance to them. So obviously every single time that one of these bigger deals comes through, we'll do it. The reason why we haven't touched on Frankie de Jong or Cristiano Ronaldo or anything like this, guys, nothing's changed. All these little stories that kind of, drip through for these kinds of players at this point in time are really just a waste of time. Today, we have talked about Matthijs de Ligt to Bayern, Paulo Dybala to Roma. You love to see that. Lisandro Martinez to Manchester United, Koulibaly to Chelsea, Zinchenko to Arsenal, and Kimpembe to Chelsea as well. Guys, let us know your comments. Any of these can actually happen, or if they have happened, what are your thoughts on them as well? Drop a like on the video too. While you're down there, please make sure that you're subscribed. If you see that big red subscribe button, do hit it. Hit the bell as well, so you know when we're posting. James, anything else from you, mate?
Guys, just hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and we will see you next time.